If you're making more than $150,000 a year and you're looking to stop being the family's bank, this message is for you. In 90 days, we'll build your entire family office. A family office is the vehicle that you'll be able to leverage in order to stop being the family's bank. It gives your family the infrastructure to no longer be the borrower, but now the lender. To talk a little bit about family offices, we got to go back to history and look at successful families and unsuccessful families. Back in 1877, this is when America was being built, the core infrastructure was being laid. You had two entrepreneurs, Cornelius Vanderbilt and John D. Rockefeller. In 1877, again, Cornelius Vanderbilt died the richest man in America. Less than 100 years later, in 1973, 120 of the Vanderbilts met at a family reunion. There wasn't one millionaire in that barbecue. The Rockefellers, on the other hand, they built the fortune in the same era. John D. Rockefeller and Cornelius Vanderbilt were actually business partners. Vanderbilt was a tycoon when it came to transportation, so trains and steamboats. Rockefeller was a tycoon when it came to oil and gas. So they had a natural business relationship, so they made money in the same era. However, 7 generations later, the Rockefellers are still wealthy, but the Vanderbilts are not. They got wealthy in the same country, in the same market, but the biggest difference is they had a different system. When you fast forward to today, 70% of families lose the wealth by the second generation. 90% of families lose the wealth by the third. The difference was never making money and deciding on the investments. It was organizing the family in a structured, governed way, because if you think about it, Cornelius Vanderbilt and John D. Rockefeller, they were both very intelligent men in their age, but the rest of their family weren't as intelligent. They wasn't as intelligent. So the question is how can you manage the rest of the family when they may not have the same aptitude, the same grit, and they may have the same intelligence, right, from the same bloodline, but they don't have the same grit, the same effort, the same morals and core values and standards as the patriarchs. It's that you have to create a system that's foolproof. Because you think about it, do you ever think that nobody ever asked John D. Rockefeller for money, or do you think no one ever asked Cornelius Vanderbilt for money? Of course, they constantly got asked. They were the wealthiest men, some of the wealthiest men in the country. But each one had a different strategy for handling the requests. And more importantly, over receiving requests for monies and paying bills and rent and that type of thing, they had a strategic way to grow their wealth as a family. Which again brings us today, back to you. You're a high performer. Maybe you built a business or you built a career, but you earned a great income and a great lifestyle. Either way, you brought your sharpest thinking to it, meaning that you planned and you thought about it and worked hard and went to school or created a business. But the rest of your family may be not as fortunate, or they may be on par, but they're likely not as fortunate as you. Maybe they didn't find that niche. Maybe they didn't get advanced degrees. And it's not that they're not intelligent, they're just not you. They didn't get put in positions that you put yourself in. And sometimes they're texting you. It starts very simple. Hey, I hope all is well. You say, I'm good. How are you? And then it comes. Well, I wish things were better. Rent's due, the light bill is due. I've got this thing and this other thing that I need help with. And as soon as you saw their text message, you know exactly where it was going the moment that you opened it. And then there's the guilt, extreme guilt, because you don't want to say no, but you already know if you say yes, it won't fix the actual problem. And it's never just once, right? You've been the family's bank for years, unpaid, unthanked. And here's a dirty secret. it was never about the money. You've never been unwilling to give. The problem is that nobody listens to you. Nobody pays attention because it's expected, because you're the one that made it. You told them many times what to do with the money. You watch them nod and do nothing and then send another text. You can fund your entire family and still have no vote for the table that you paid for. You got to remember, there's no prophet that is celebrated at his own kitchen table. So what did the Rockefellers have that you don't? Not more willingness. They had a strategy based on group economics. The thing that wealthy families have quietly run for over a century. They call it a family office. I know it's a family, it's a very fancy name, but end of the day, it's all about governance, a way to pool capital, making sure that all the documents are in a safe place, in the same place, so you can kind of have visibility to everything. There's a place that you can vote, right? So there's a table where money gets discussed with rules, and also if you do hit hard times or you do need capital to invest in something, there's a place to send those requests. But it isn't your phone, right? It's a shared experience, right? It's something that everybody votes on. It's something that everybody has skin in the game on, right? It's really what the primary difference between the Rockefellers and what they had versus what the Vanderbilts had. But here's the catch. Today, if you want to set up a real family office, it runs about $1 million a year to operate. And that's minimum. And the industry doesn't even bother unless your family has, 10 million, 20 million in assets. There are some places that may go smaller, but it may be a multi-family office, right? But a family office sometimes costs more per year than you actually earn. And I remember asking myself, just why? Why does it have to be that way? And this is regarding my family. Why does it have to be that way? Why do wealthy families who are already wealthy, and why do they get this and everybody else gets a group chat? And for a century, there was not really a good answer. Now, software has finally collapsed the cost of running one. And I'll show you the real numbers in a minute, but just know that now that closed door is now open. And the timing matters. Right now, we're sitting in the largest wealth transfer in American history. It's underway right now. Trillions are moving between generations. And over the next 20 years, 90% of it will be gone by the third generation, unless the family has a system. Fair warning, before I go further, this is not for everyone. It's for families with something to protect, and it takes a person who's ready to lead it. If that someone is you, please keep watching. Now, I'm gonna be straight with you about who I am in this story because it matters. I was never really the family bank. It was my dad and my uncle. But 12 years ago, I created our first idea of a family office. We started a financial seminar. We met once a year. We started talking about credit, home ownership, stocks. But by year 5, I became aware of this idea of a family office. Everyone started contributing to the family office. We put $25 per month per person. However, today we've built an investment portfolio, but also identified about $5 million of assets across the family. Now, I'm sure there's multiple millions more that we hadn't gotten to, but my sister runs our family tax business. We've held 10 annual summits without skipping one, and the 11th one is this November. And I'll be honest, we still have a lot of work to do. But that's the point. This isn't magic. It's a system that keeps working in the years that nobody feels motivated. And it changed what the money call even is, like the money call being somebody texting you and asking for money. In my family, nobody gets a random text. My dad doesn't, my uncle doesn't, I don't. When someone needs help, the request gets submitted, discussed, and voted. A fair hearing with rules instead of favor with resentment. There's no resentment built. Nobody has to play the bank. Nobody has to be the bad guy. The vote is what the vote is. The bank gets called, the family votes. Now, come with me to the whiteboard, because there's exactly 3 ways to get a family office. And I want you to see all 3 priced out. Way 1, staff it the way the $10 million, $20 million, $50 million family do. It starts with a chief investment officer, a CIO. They cost $400,000 to $500,000, maybe $475,000 a year base. That's the good ones. And they make more than you do. So 3 to 5 full-time specialists, think tax, legal, operations, payroll, right? All these people eat 2/3 of that budget, the top line budget. You have outside attorneys that are typically on a retainer, maybe $100,000 to $500,000 on a good year, depending on how complicated your family office is. You have a physical space, perhaps, for all these people, the technology, the compliance. And so, you're looking at roughly $1 million plus a year, right? And typically it's about $3 million a year. The second way, you can build it yourself. Now, here's what you need to build it yourself. First, you need the conversation. You need a facilitator that can handle family and money, that they run $1,500 per session, right? It costs $1,500 per session. It takes about 6 sessions to get traction. So roughly about $9,000. You need somebody who can design and be a family architect. This is somebody has to architect this before anybody drafts anything, right? So $5,000 at the very low end, and firms that do this for wealthy families charge 5 figures for the design alone. There's the legal structure. There's the partnership or the corporation or the LLC. There's the operating agreement, the EIN, the filings. That's roughly $2,500. The rails, meaning making sure that everything has a bank account, the entity has a bank account, monthly contribution, like just services to kind of set this up, is $1,200. And then there is software that you can buy. Now we move on to the estate layer. This is the one that nobody really ever finishes, with wills and power of attorneys and directives and beneficiaries for every adult. And that's, call it $3,000 to $5,000 per household, right? And say you have a summit that you plan every year. It's produced and planned, and all the invites go out. That's $3,500 to $5,000, and taxes, right? A partnership return, K1s. So, that column can easily be, $30,000 plus, right, in year 1. The sessions, the summit, the taxes, the software come back every single year, and it leaves out the part that actually kills you. You'd be the general contractor, the person that is coordinating 5 professionals that have never really met each other, and you're chasing your uncle's signature, you're running the meetings, you're keeping it alive in year 3 when nobody feels like showing up. You're already the family's bank. That will make yourself also the unpaid chief operating officer too. Which brings me to way 3. Everything on that board, the governance, the documents, the rails, the table, done for you, done with you for $10,000. In full transparency, because that's really how this whole thing worked, $10,000 is the total fee, but you can start with $2,500. And so let me map out exactly what you get. We call it the Good Stewards operating system. In 90 days, we install this entire operating system for your family. The council, a Good Stewards facilitator, will run your table. So you're never the one begging relatives to focus, and never the one that has to feel guilty or be the prophet that nobody hears. The Constitution. This is a document that's drafted with you and signed and reviewed by the family, that talks about your core values, and your family crest is also a part of the Constitution. But this is how your family operates, the things you all believe in. the entity and the rails. All this is formed, your accounts become live, contributions can start to flow inside of the account. You don't have to do Zells or anything like that. The estate layer, every single adult, it's actually finished. It's not a binder. It's a digital vault. There's also a cadence. So there's votes. There are the ability to record all the votes, so you can go back in history and say, hey, who voted for this? Who agreed on this? So you can have an audit trail. And then your first summit. We design it, we produce it, and it's on the calendar. You can lead it, or you can hire one of our professionals to come out and actually lead it. But everything is built on your data. And so we can help you craft that and advise you on how to actually lead that. But you can do it from a place of transparency and facts. And understand what you're actually looking at. This is family governance consulting. The service the big firms and the boutique family office consultancy sell to $100 million offices, family offices, and 5-figure engagements. It's $25,000, $30,000 before a single legal document has been drafted, right? It's just a piece. The staff column costs $1 million a year, every year. The build it yourself DIY, it really costs $30,000 plus your nights and weekend, plus all the vendors that you've never met. So wave 3 is $10,000 once over the course of say 90 days. Or you can get a discount, but we can talk about that if you pay everything up front. But now let's handle kind of what you're thinking, because I'll be thinking the same thing too. Number 1, my family will never do this. You're right. If you pitch it cold at Thanksgiving with nothing in your hands, which is why you don't really start with the family, you start with your household, right? We install the family office. You hold your first counsel at your own table in your household, and the table does the recruiting. When a cousin or someone reaches out and wants to borrow some money, you invite them to the table. Or when a cousin or uncle hears about a family office is being created and has a vault and vote and real money moving around and you're actually investing, curiosity does more than what your lectures will ever do. And understand the deal plainly. We are responsible for building it, but we'll partner with you to lead it, because there are tough conversations that have to happen. And they're not necessarily tough per se, but they are, I would say, creative conversations. You know, it's somewhat counterintuitive, because sometimes it's like you want to motivate somebody to do something for their own purpose or their own positive gain, but sometimes that doesn't work. So we'll talk you through kind of what's worked in our family to motivate those to actually participate. But number 2, I should talk to my family first. Completely understand. But talk to them about what? Right now, you walk in empty-handed, one more idea from the one who always has ideas, right? The Constitution, the agenda, the vault, that is the conversation. You built that first, and then you invite. That's the whole reason why it works. Number 3, we're not that kind of family. Remember the Vanderbilts? They were exactly that kind of family. The system comes before wealth, not after it. Mine started with a conversation and $25 a month. And again, we've grown that to about $5 million of identified assets. Number 4, we already have an advisor. We already have a legal team. Well, you should keep them both. An advisor manages actual portfolios, right? But it's also one person's portfolio. An attorney will typically hand you a binder that goes into the drawer. Half the family never even knows if you have a will or a trust or anything like that. So it's not about cutting them out or not partnering with them. It's more so about bringing all that data collectively so everybody has visibility to it, but that only comes with trust. And I know if you have people, you can use those individuals, but if you can also use our professionals as well. Number 5, is now the right time? How many years has your family been saying, we should really get organized? We go to the barbecue and we spend time, we have fun, but we really don't talk about money. We don't organize around money. We should practice this thing called group economics. But every year that you wait is another year as the bank, especially as you being the person that's funding a lot of the things, meaning people are late on rent, people have this issue, they have that issue. That means another year of unfinished documents, another holiday where nothing really happens, nothing really moves forward. And so the best time is to build before your family has lost someone. The second time is today. Number 6, where does your money actually sit? So it's your family's money. It sits in your accounts in your family's entity. So whatever your family office entity has, it'll be your bank account. It's not the good Stewards bank account. We help to show you how to make it and create it, but at the end of the day, it's your brokerage account, your bank account, not ours. We never hold the money. We build a system around it, and every member sees every single dollar, every single vote, every single contribution, but there's no side deals, and that's really the whole point. And question 7, what if it doesn't work? You're not risking anything. If you're a family institution, council seated, Constitution signed, the digital vault is live, the pool is open. All these things must be installed in 90 days, or you get every dollar back, and that's in writing. I can offer this because we've already spent well over a decade building ours, and so all the learnings that we have created and learned and overcome over that period, we can bring that and consolidate from 10 years plus to 90 days. So here's what happens next. And hear this part very, very clearly. I take all these calls personally. It's not a sales team. It's not a script or a robot or AI. It's me. On the call, we'll talk about several things. 1, we talk about your family dynamic. We talk about your family gap to the kin number. The kin number is the Kindred Independence number. So what that number looks like for financial freedom. We map out your first 30 days and we walk through the guarantee line by line. And I'll be straight with you. This is a decision call, meaning if you share money decisions with your spouse, make sure they're on the call. If it's a fit, then we start that week. If it's not, I tell you to your face and I'll point you to somewhere that's useful. But what I won't do is spend an hour with you so you can think about it for another 5 years, because our vision is that we create the culture that everyone has a family office. Because generational wealth, I know that's a buzzword that's going throughout social media and the world in general, but we believe that generational wealth can be created within some of the relationships we already have. And so to the patriarchs and the ones that are on the way to becoming a patriarch, the question was never whether or not your family needs this. You've known that you need this, and it's why you're still watching. The question is really whether you're ready to lead it. You've been the bank, you've been the ATM, you've been the one that individuals send a text to, but they never listen to, even though you're successful. So my advice to you is stop being the bank. Be the brother again, be the son, be the nephew, but most importantly, be the steward. And let the family office do what lectures never could. Below is a button to book a call with me. Go ahead and book it. Answer the questions honestly, and let's see if you're ready to take this journey. This is a meeting that your family has been waiting for the last 10 years. So go ahead and call, book some time. I look forward to seeing you on the other side.